Good morning, and welcome to Mobility Magic on a Monday. I am Simon Page. This is Mobility Magic. As I said, you can find me at Fascial Stretch Simon on Instagram. And if this is your first time, welcome to Mobility Magic on a Monday. This is where we start your week off with a good life mobility routine that's going to get you set for the week. So if you've joined us for the first time, welcome. If you join us for the multiple times and you've joined us for many weeks, you'll know exactly how this goes down. This is a mobility session designed to get you started for the week. So today's session, we are going to do a little bit of basic stuff. I realized that there's been a number of new people joining, had a number of people ask me about whether we could go over some of the more basic stretches that we have done in the past, some of the core full routine. So we're going to go back to basics with some of it, but it's going to be a lower back focused session. So for those of you that have been sat watching Netflix for the last however long, 2 years maybe, we are going to focus on trying to get your low back in order. So without further ado, I'm going to turn off the comments and questions, and hello to everyone that's waving, and we'll get started with the session. But if you have any questions, anything you would like us to cover, or if there is any ideas that you have, you can post it on the video that we do for the replay. You can post it there, so in the comment section underneath, which will go up probably about 10 minutes after we finish the session. So let me just turn off the comments. Thanks so much for joining us. So unlike normal, we are going to skip over the foot rolling, and we're going to skip straight to some of the lower back stretches and a check-in. So first thing I want to do is I want to just have a check-in and see how your body feels in place. So we're going to get you to take some nice deep breaths into your chest. We'd like to have a feedback loop. So we're going to do it a little bit in reverse. We're going to breathe into our chest first. Nice deep breath in. And the second breath, we're actually going to focus on expanding our diaphragm, filling our belly, getting a big expansion of the lungs down into the lower cavity. So, and what I want you to do is I want you to just drift from left to right. We're just going to find our center of gravity. We're just going to find where we naturally stand. We're just going to see how our shoulders feel as we just let them hang to our sides. And we see how your back feels, how your feet feel, how you shift from side to side, see where your center point is. Now look down. I just want to see how shifted you are, how twisted your body is. See if you're centered over the middle of your foot, or whether you're drifted over your toes, leaning forward or back, or feel unbalanced. And then I just want you to take a few more breaths as you do this, okay? So nice deep breath in. Breathe out. Okay, so our first protocol today, we're going to come straight down to the floor. We're just going to do a very basic check-in. You've seen this before. We're going to do our feedback loop, which is going to be a cat-cow type stretch. So if you haven't done this before, or you've done yoga, you'll recognize this one, because this is just a very good neutral way of finding out how your back feels. And it can be really good for rehabilitation or anyone with a low back injury. So first thing you want to do is make sure that your hands are below your shoulders. So if you have poor wrist flexibility, you can obviously walk your hands out a little bit, but ideally we want it underneath us. We're going to make sure that we are going to do a cat-cow type position. We're going to cut it in half, so now we're in neutral, and just see how you feel as you kind of rock back into position. If you feel that you can go a little bit lower, you can widen your hips just to let yourself come back and down a little bit more. And if you feel good, just make sure that or if your neck feels a little bit out, let's just make sure you tuck your chin. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is, if you have any tension that's built up from sitting at a desk, we are going to add in another element. There's two ways of doing this. We can do this with a ball, which is my preferred method. We can do this with a foam roller. I will show you both. I'll show you one on one side and one on the other. And all we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a global, a local but more to global type stretch using this exercise ball. So if you don't have one, fine. If you have a foam roller, completely fine. If you have a football or something large that you can lay on, that's fine too. This is going to be largely guided breathing on this. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we have our ball on the floor. We're laying across the ball with our belly button about diagonal from the ball. I want to let our weight sink into the ball. So my legs are going to be slightly out of shot,
but hopefully you can see most of me. And the idea with this one is we are just letting our body weight sink into the ball. So taking nice deep breaths. Might already feel a stretch, or you might feel a little bit of compression in the organs. That's okay. Want a little bit of that. So nice deep breath in. Expanding as much as possible into that area where we're laying across the ball. Deep breath in. As we breathe out, just imagine you're just sinking, sinking, sinking. Each breath, you would like to sink into the ball, just to see if you go a little bit deeper. And if you already feel some relief in your low back, if you're someone that suffers from a little bit of low back compression, or if you've been sat at your desk a lot, then, and you already feel some relief, that's great. That's ideally what we want. So as you feel yourself sinking into the ball, as you get that release from your psoas, your kind of iliacus area, we want to come forward on the ball a little bit, roll into that area, and then we're going to add in some other stretches in a minute. So again, we're making sure that you're either resting both hands down to support your back. You can either have your elbows down, or you can even bring your chest up a little bit to add a little bit more of a stretch. This is a kind of a graduated one. So nice deep breath in again. And as you breathe out, just let yourself sink into the ball. And let that pressure go. Now you could stay here for a good 3 to 4 minutes, maybe longer if you needed to. But here's a couple of things you could do to adapt this stretch a little bit more, take it one step further. First thing we could do is we could come to kind of a sloppy push-up position, and we could stretch that psoas, that diaphragm, that lower body, that low back, that hip, by reaching forward with our body, lifting up into that kind of sphinx position, but we could even take it a little bit more diagonally. So now I'm going to stretch away, and now I'm creating some distance from that psoas. So second thing we can do is we can actually lift our leg. We can do a little bit of extension or hyperextension. And now we can even combine the two. Now I would probably save that one for later. I'd probably save that one for a little bit more advanced. Let me now show you on the foam roller. So just grab my foam roller over here. Again, easily done if you're using foam roller, completely fine. Probably won't get as much of a global local stretch on this area, or a more global stretch when we add the other pieces in. For some people this can feel a little bit more comfortable, and it's a little bit more safe because you're lower to the ground, okay? So we're going to lay across the foam roller, but this time though what I would say is you probably just want about half the foam roller on the side. I want to catch the same area, so we are just above the hip bone, just across from the belly button. We're laying on that area. You know you're in the right place because it'll probably feel mildly uncomfortable. You'll probably be swearing at the Instagram screen, and that's okay. I'll take that. It's a little bit uncomfortable. So nice deep breaths in. Make sure that your foam roller is placed in the right position. Breathe it into the foam roller. Breathe out. Breathing in. And as you breathe out this time, just make sure you're sinking, sinking, sinking. Now, if you feel like this is too uncomfortable for you, just make sure you're taking that time to inhale and exhale, because if you rapidly start to breathe, if you start to hold your breath, you're going to find this gets much tighter, much harder to do. So we're just again sinking into that foam roller as we breathe in and out. And now we're going to add in our bonus stretches, our Sphinx position. And again, you can come diagonally. So from corner to corner, I'm stretching my left side, so I want to raise up to the right side on this one. And then I can also add in that leg extension, which will also add in the stretch. Now, if you feel any low back compression as you lift your leg, I would probably try and avoid this one. That can affect your low back quite quickly. So let's put the foam roller to the side, let's put the ball to the side. You can come back and review that later if you want to. Again, a really great way of just decompressing the psoas, the iliacus, any musculature in this area, the hip flexors, etc., the adductors, sorry. And that can be really quick and effective just to get that low back relieved. If you've been sat over a desk all day, this is the opposite of that. This is just going to decompress it. So let's go into a core 4. So quick check-in. Again, if you've done this with me before, you'll know how to do this. Probably a few weeks since we've done this, maybe a few months for some people. So we're just seeing with a basic hip box how our hips feel. Okay, so just notice from left to right how they feel. Can you get them down to the floor? You can elevate your butt just a little bit if you need to. We're going to drop one leg down to less than a 90-90. Okay, now this stretch, and I'll turn a little bit diagonally so you can see me, is all about the stretch wave. So we're going to undulate our movements. We are reaching into the wave. We are stretching our chin up to the ceiling. We're trying to create some length through our spine. So this is really going to help that low back for you. Okay, so hands at either side of the knee. We're stretching our chin all the way up to the ceiling. Imagine there's a piece of string pulling you up. And we are reaching our chin forward as we come down and breathe out. Then we roll our chin up our chest. We're keeping it nice and tight. We're tucking that chin in. We're keeping it tucked. So as we reach forward, breathe out, we are keeping that chin tucked. And each time we're stretching further away, making sure we're moving without any discomfort or pain as we move. Okay, so very important for this one is that you move without pain, without discomfort, move within the range that feels comfortable to you. Okay, so breathing in, breathing out, rolling up the chest. Let's add a little bit more of a stretch. So you're going to walk your hands around slightly. We're going to walk around to the side. We are adding in a little bit of a stretch across the hip, maybe even a little bit of a stretch in the low back, but hopefully not too much that it feels really uncomfortable. Okay, so walking the hands around, we're going to stretch our head up, tucking our chin a little bit, and now we're reaching our chin out, breathing out, pushing back onto our back hip as we come up, breathing in, lengthening our spine, breathing out. So just imagine you're undulating and crashing into the rocks as we kind of come down, pushing back, chin up, forward, and you can do kind of 3 to 4 on each side on that one. Let's turn one more time this way. Let's turn to our side. We're going to add even more of a stretch to the hip. Now you don't need to add these extra pieces and these turns unless you feel that you're able to. So if your back feels really cranky, if your hips feel really super tight, just take your time. So nice deep breath in. Forward and down. Really helps lengthen that spine as we come down. And let's drop now down onto our elbow. So coming down to our elbow, you can add in a pad or a yoga block or something if you need to. My arm's going to come off screen slightly, but that's okay. I'll describe everything that happens. So with this one, we're actually going to do some rotations, so it can be really good on the low back, but if you have any contraindications that your physician or athletic therapist or physio or chiropractor said not to do, and twisting is one of them, I would skip over this one as well. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to use a hand as a rudder to kind of steer this. We're stretching straight up to the ceiling, and we are turning our hand under as we come under, rotating through the hips, breathing in, and as we turn under, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And I'm trying to turn my elbow as far as it will go, bringing my chest down towards the floor just to add that rotation in. I feel a nice deep stretch across my upper back as well, as this works really well as a catch-all to help us stretch through that position. Okay, so we've done 3 to 4 on this side. We are going to reach up and over, let the arm hang, and we're going to bring it round the back, kind of helicopter wave as we let our shoulder open up as we come back, shoulder opens up. We keep the hands as close as we can. We're looking up and over. And if you want to add an extra piece into this, you can just lift your hip up a little bit off the floor. Okay? So we just do 2 more on this side. So breathing in, breathing out on the way past. All the while we're gaining more and more range on that shoulder. We're getting a little bit more of a stretch. We're getting a little more of a lengthen through that spine. Okay? So last piece, we can add a little bonus in here, is we can bring our arm back. We're pulling our shoulder down. We're nice and proud with our chest. So we're creating length through our spine. And we're going to try and turn our body and see if we can look at our left foot, my left foot, potentially your right foot if you're following along. Leaning back slightly. And this is just going to create some length as I lengthen my body up and I turn. I can feel a little bit of a stretch that low back. And now I come back to center. So worthwhile doing a check-in. We always like to have a feedback loop to see if these stretches feel good, if these stretches are assisting at all. Okay, so let's move on to the next side. This is where you kind of find out which side's tighter. This is definitely my tighter side. I need to spend a lot longer doing stretches on this side of my body. So I will turn towards you a little bit more. So again, making sure we're lengthening through the spine, making sure that we are breathing nice and deep and we're breathing out on the wave of the movement. So hands either side of the leg, we are stretching our body up nice and tall, breathing in, and then we're undulating, crashing into the rocks, breathing forward, so we're taking a deep breath in, coming down, rocking back onto our hip. So we're taking a nice deep breath in, deep breath in, breathing out, stretching nice and tall. Again, imagine that we're extending straight up to the ceiling. We're getting that nice deep stretch. We're going to turn our body ever so slightly to get some more stretch on that low back. And again, if this does not feel comfortable to you, you don't have to do this one. It's just if you want to take the stretch up another level. And we are stretching up and we're stretching forward. Chin up to the ceiling this time, really, really stretching. Reaching forward and back. And let's go one more time this way, so we move in 3s. If you've got the range, deep breath in. Now, if you want to, you can even do some small waves where you find just to scan the area. You find any tightness, you can do some small undulations, and it might look a little bit ridiculous, but it's really effective because it kind of overcomes the body's reflex and kind of regain that tension. So moving in waves is going to benefit you and kind of overcome that nervous system response. So now we're going to move around. We can obviously add in as many as we need to. I'm just keeping it brief with kind of 3 or 4 for each section. But we're going to come down onto our elbow. We're going to kind of thread that needle like we did before. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to rotate under, just feel that stretch. We're going to reach it up to the ceiling, we're going to lengthen, stretching up as high as we can, and we breathe out on the way down. So you can take a breath at the top. Breathing in. Breathing out. Just see where you need that stretch. You'll also feel it across your hip as well, so don't worry if you feel it in your lower body and your upper body and your shoulders, anywhere that you're rotating down. So again, we're trying to bring our chest down to the floor. We're going to feel that stretch. So scooping under, reaching up, and let's just do one more because I really like this stretch. And tighter on this side, and let's make sure that we take a second to relief. So staying our elbow, we're going to reach across. I'm going to move across a little bit, just so you can see the stretch a little bit better. Take your time, do as many as you need on this one because this is going to really benefit you. This is our core full stretch, boyfriend stretch to Win Institute. And we are reaching up and over as my
shirt turns into a crop top. I'm reaching up and over, and I'm bringing my arm around. I'm stretching out and around. So I'm really, really working into that stretch. I can lift my hip up if I need to, stretch my arm out. I'm trying to reach, breathing out on the way around. Awesome. So let's come up onto our hips. Let's look across our shoulders. So again, we're putting our hand behind us, we're loading this arm, pushing our shoulder back and down. I'm looking across my shoulder, trying to look at my foot if I can. It's getting some nice stability on that shoulder, okay? So let's come back to center. Do the check on the time, we're doing great. And let's just kind of see how we feel with our hips. Always worth doing a check-in each time we do a stretch, because again, we want to create a efficient mobility routine that works for you. So removing anything that does not work for you, that does not impact your routine and does not help remove any tension or regain range in joints, etc., is worthwhile doing. Pick the things that work best for you. So if anything we have covered so far doesn't work for you, then obviously skip over that. So we're going to do a little bit of a localized stretch for the adductors, the hamstrings. We're going to add in a rotation as well, just to kind of open up. Okay, so the first thing is, so let's bring one leg out straight. So actually come back a little bit so you can see. One leg out straight. This one's a modification of, I think it's called a pancake stretch, some people call it. We're going to use this as kind of a reach and rotation. We're going to do a couple of different rotational exercises next, okay? So kind of twisting the spine as well. So again, if there's any contraindications, if there's anything that doesn't feel right for you, go back to some of the previous stretches and just follow along, okay? So we're going to reach forward slightly on this one. We are reaching up, and we're going to lean into this leg. As we come over, we can bring this hand onto the back of our head. And again, we're just using this leg for stability. So you can even bring your hand back if you want to, but I like to just rest on this leg just to pin it down. And then I kind of bring my body forward and backwards. And as I work into the range, I can start to turn my elbow down and lean back a little bit. And this is where this elbow or this hand kind of comes into play, because now as we lean back, we start to lose a little bit of core stability. But as we gain range, we lengthen and we kind of need that stability. So you're going to want to push into that leg, get a nice stretch across this side of our back. We're getting a nice stretch through our hip, and we're getting into those adductors too, as well as kind of an opening of that diaphragm, intercostals, rib cage, coming down, coming up. Let's change sides. So again, whichever side's tighter for you, I think my left side will probably be tighter on this one. We're going to use this to open that up. So hand is either going to be on our knee, sorry, our forearm's going to be on our knee, or it's going to be behind us, pushing down, okay? And then we're going to use that opening, leaning across as we turn it down and open up. I want to encourage you to try and get as tall as possible, leaning back. As you come down, breathe in. You can even reach across if you want to, pushing down to that leg. But again, we're just trying to create that rotational piece as well. Okay, so let's come onto our back. This time we're just going to do another modified rotational stretch. This is one we've done before. You can cross your legs over. You'll remember this one from kind of a modified hamstring stretch we've done in this position, or piriformis stretch. But we're just going to rotate our foot down to the floor with a basic figure four kind of back stretch, and we're just going to use our elbows to stabilize. Okay, so we're pushing down to the floor. We've got this kind of figure four position. Our foot's on the floor. We're rotating away by driving our left elbow. So that's this one, closest one, and I'm rotating my upper body away on each breath. Okay, so again, let's just go through the basic positions for this. I'm on my back, I'm crossing my leg over, I'm bringing my foot down to the floor, so now I have a little bit of a stretch through this hip. I'm now going to place both my arms on the ground in this T position, and I'm going to use this closest arm, pushing into the ground, to rotate away from you, okay? So just a step by step, and if you want to go over that one again, feel free to go back to the replay and run through it. But either way, I'm just creating a little bit of a stretch in my low back. Take a nice deep breath in. And rotating away. Nice deep breath in. Pushing into the left. And rotating away. And creating some length. If you want to add another element to this, you can imagine that you're trying to lengthen your body diagonally away from you. Deep breath in. Rotating, filling up. Back stretch. Awesome. So let's do the other side. I'm going to rotate away from it because I think it's good to get another angle on this stretch. My leg is across, figure 4 position. I'm turning my foot down. And now I'm facing away from it. So now this hand on the other side becomes the, this arm on the other side becomes the arm that's active. I'm pushing down to the floor. Take a nice deep breath in, trying to fill my belly. I'm pushing that diaphragm down, taking big breaths into my lungs to kind of force that air. Pushing down with my right elbow this time, turning away, so direction of where my head's going. Take a nice deep breath in, let it ease off slightly. Pushing into the ground. Pushing into the ground. Excellent. So, last thing we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of stability work. We're going to add some stability back in. So we're going to decompress the hips slightly. A couple of different ways of doing this, but one of the easier ways is that you can use a foam roller. We'll get into that in a minute, but first we'll do it without for the people that don't have a foam roller that just want to decompress their back. So first thing you're going to want to do is bring your legs into kind of a happy baby position, up into this position. We're going to bring one leg down. I'm going to create some torsion across our hips, and this is a really classic way of just resetting the hips. So the first thing we do is put our hands on top of the knee that's up, because we're going to be pushing this way towards our head, and the other leg is going to be pushing down into the floor. Okay, so creating some tension. So I'm pushing this hand up this way, fighting the resistance, and I'm pushing that other leg down, creating some torsion across my hips. Now I'm going to change over, and we're going to keep alternating as I push this leg up this way, and I push the other leg into the floor, trying to get some stability, to create some torsion across the hips. And I'm going to keep doing it. So we want to do about a total of 3 to 4 each side. Keep that chin tucked as well. Make sure you're breathing. Just going to do one last set on each side. Excellent. Now, this is where you can either add in a foam roller or a ball, or you can use your fist as well, just double fist to squeeze as hard as you can in this position. Again, I'll just give you the example with a foam roller. We can use both fists. We're going to drop our hips down to the side. We'll squeeze as hard as we can in this position, squeezing that foam roller. We're then going to bring it back to center. Turn again, squeeze that foam roller as hard as you can. And then we bring it back to center, squeeze as hard as you can, squeeze those knees together. If you feel a pop, great. If you do not, that's completely fine too. We're now going to do a little bit of stability work with a bridge. So just bring the hips up, squeeze the butt. Now you want to make sure that you're sliding your feet away from you, not pulling towards you. Otherwise you get hamstring activation, and we just want to feel the glutes. So we need some reciprocal inhibition from the quads to just isolate those glutes on the back side. So dropping the hips down. Squeeze, knees out, and relax. You can repeat as well. So what we've done is we've just stabilized the pelvis a little bit, just creating some torsion, and we're just activating the glutes. So that last piece is really important, just to get some stability. If you create any new range of motion, just make sure you reinforce it with some stability work. That's really, really important, because if you don't use it, you lose it, and that's really, really important. So let me just turn on the comments again. And for those of you that have stayed tuned again, or those of you that are just tuning in now and want a refresh and a review of what we just covered, did a little bit of work on low back, did a little bit of work on some rotational stuff, did some basics as well, just to cover off some material that we've done before for new people. Really important that you get the basics and the foundations right for those that haven't done it before, but hopefully that helps you to relieve your low back, some of your postural issues, a little bit of stretch in the hips and low back. So thanks again, guys. Really great to see you. If you have any comments, any feedback, love to hear and see the comments, but post it in the video that I put up afterwards of the session. So I really appreciate that. And again, if you want us to cover anything next week, this is your session. We'd love to make it tailored to you. So feel free to write in and we'll action those. Okay? Thanks so much.